If what's being reported is true, it could completely reshape the landscape for the New York Knicks. And that's not an exaggeration. According to a new update revealed during SportsCenter, the Knicks are still firmly in the mix for a potential blockbuster deal that would bring Giannis Antetokounmpo to Madison Square Garden. And yes, this isn't just speculation. There are growing signs that Leon Rose has been strategically working behind the scenes to make it happen. The panel dove straight into it, pointing out that New York has remained quietly aggressive in their pursuit of a superstar, and no name looms larger than Giannis. While virtually every team in the league would love to add him, only a few actually have the flexibility, the draft capital, and the appeal to realistically pull it off. The Knicks? They check all those boxes, and they've got the market that Giannis has reportedly been intrigued by for years. It's no secret that Giannis has business ties to New York, and a long-standing admiration for the city, especially Madison Square Garden. And while Brooklyn has occasionally been mentioned in the conversation, the Knicks are seen as the more serious contender, especially in light of their current roster, draft assets, and trajectory. According to insiders, members of Giannis's inner circle are advocating for a move to New York, even though the two-time MVP has publicly maintained his loyalty to Milwaukee. But that loyalty has come with a catch. He's remained non-committal about his long-term future with the Bucks. And when you look at Milwaukee's current situation, the concerns are legitimate. The Bucks no longer look like a surefire title contender. Their playoff exit raised major questions, and now, with other Eastern Conference teams like Boston dealing with injuries, including Jason Tatum's reported Achilles issue, and Indiana also facing setbacks with Tyrese Halliburton and the loss of Miles Turner, the conference looks wide open. That leaves a clear lane for teams like the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and even the Magic to move into contention. And for the Knicks, the timing couldn't be better. Leon Rose has made it clear the Knicks are not done making moves, and they're carefully positioning themselves for a bigger play. One name directly tied to all of this: Mikal Bridges. He's eligible for a 4-year, $156 million contract extension. But as SportsCenter pointed out, that deal hasn't been signed yet. And that delay? It's not random. Insider Ian Begley broke down the situation, saying the Knicks are intentionally holding off on extending Bridges because of the impact it would have on a potential trade. Once extended, Bridges would be off-limits in any deal for 6 months, which would effectively eliminate him from being part of a Giannis package if Milwaukee makes him available before the season starts. That delay tells you something. It signals the Knicks are still very much in wait-and-see mode with Giannis. They're leaving that door open. Begley made it clear, if and when Bridges signs that extension, it could mean the Giannis talks are officially done, at least for now. And that's the key: timing. The Bucks aren't expected to move Giannis during the season, not with so much leverage lost mid-year. They don't control their own draft picks, so any trade would likely be done in the off-season, when flexibility is highest and offers are strongest. So from New York's side, every move is calculated. Every delay is deliberate. If the Knicks extend Bridges now, they're essentially taking themselves out of the Giannis sweepstakes. And that's not something Leon Rose appears ready to do just yet. All of this means one thing: the Knicks are still in this. And the next few weeks, they're going to be crucial. So here's what was discussed further on SportsCenter. And it's a key development. Most insiders now believe Giannis Antetokounmpo is likely to remain in Milwaukee for one more season. But after that, that's where things get real. The expectation is that if the Bucks suffer another early postseason exit, Giannis could formally request a trade, with New York positioned at the front of the line. What complicates matters is how uncertain things still are. Giannis has continued to dance around the idea of re-signing long-term with Milwaukee. He hasn't closed the door, but he hasn't exactly shown urgency either. And within the Bucks organization, there's genuine concern that the reigning MVP may feel he's hit the ceiling with this roster. Now, that uncertainty plays directly into the Knicks' current strategy. As discussed during the SportsCenter broadcast, Mikal Bridges would be a central piece in any Giannis trade package. He's currently on a deal that expires after this season, making him eligible for either a 4-year, $156 million extension now or a larger payday next summer. But for now, the Knicks are holding off. And the numbers back up why he's a valuable piece. In the Knicks' most recent playoff run, Bridges averaged 15.6 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3 assists, while playing elite-level defense, posting nearly 2 steals and a block per game. He was a two-way anchor on the wing, but as good as Bridges is, he's not Giannis. No one is. Let's put this in perspective. Giannis averaged 33 points, 15 rebounds, and over 6 assists across his last 5 playoff appearances. He did everything, and it still wasn't enough to lift a Milwaukee team that, frankly, lacked depth, defensive identity, and reliable support around him. So now, there's a growing sentiment that a Giannis trade isn't a matter of if, but when, and that's where New York comes in. The proposed deal discussed on air involved the Knicks acquiring Giannis and guard AJ Green in exchange for Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and a collection of first-round draft picks. Essentially, everything the Knicks can legally offer under CBA rule. Now, does that come with sacrifices? Absolutely. Losing Hart, for example, strips the team of its emotional leader and hustle engine. Mitchell Robinson, despite his injury history, is a premier shot blocker and rim protector. And Bridges, as mentioned, is an elite 3-and-D player. But for a generational talent like Giannis, you pull the trigger. The vision would be a new-look starting lineup: Jalen Brunson, Deuce McBride, OG Anunoby, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Karl Anthony Towns. That's not just dangerous, that's terrifying for the rest of the NBA. You'd have one of the best defensive front courts in the league, an elite offensive engine in Brunson, and floor spacing from Towns and Anunoby. Brunson wouldn't need to dominate the ball every possession. Giannis would thrive in transition, create in the half-court, and Towns could operate from the perimeter, where he's most comfortable. You'd have 2 elite playmakers, 2 all-NBA defenders, and 3 capable shooters. That's a championship-caliber unit, full stop. Now, the concern raised by the panel was depth. With Robinson, Hart, and Bridges gone, the Knicks bench would thin out considerably. Mike Brown, now tasked with managing this group, would have to rely more heavily on the likes of Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele, Ariel Hukporti, and AJ Green. There were also reports that New York might give James Nnaji a longer look, possibly upgrading his deal to a standard contract to reinforce the front court. And with Giannis likely to take on some minutes at the 5, the Knicks could adapt with more small ball lineups when needed. The takeaway from SportsCenter's coverage was clear. This trade would redefine the Knicks. It weakens some aspects of the rotation, sure, but adding a top 3 player in the world, someone who shifts the balance of power in the entire conference, that's the kind of move that separates contenders from champions. Now, to wrap up what was reported during the SportsCenter segment, and this part is just as important. If this blockbuster deal for Giannis goes through, the Knicks bench would undoubtedly take a hit. You're looking at a second unit of Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele, and potentially Landry Shamet. Solid role players, yes. But that trio alone doesn't scream depth or versatility, especially not for a team with championship ambition. And here's the thing. New York still has 1 veteran minimum contract left to use. But the question is, who do they give it to? There were some whispers about Ben Simmons, but that fit is messy at best. Pairing Simmons with Giannis, 2 non-shooters in the same rotation, that's a spacing nightmare. So if Simmons is off the table, then who's in? Maybe you look for a stretch big. Maybe someone with size and a consistent jumper who can come in and give you 10 to 15 minutes a night. The issue? There aren't many of those guys still available, and the Knicks would have to get creative. Again, also worth noting, even after the trade, the Knicks would only have 13 players on their standard roster. And per league rules, you can't go more than 2 consecutive weeks into the season without a full 14-man roster. So someone else would have to be signed, probably a rookie-scale contract, or maybe converting one of their two-way players into a full deal. Names floated on the SportsCenter panel included Marjon Beauchamp or even Kevin McCullough Jr., who could potentially be signed off a two-way deal for depth. It's not ideal, but it's doable, and the Knicks' front office has shown it knows how to navigate tight roster constructions just like they did when they acquired Karl Anthony Towns. Still, even with these adjustments, losing guys like Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson would sting. Hart has been one of the emotional leaders of the team and a constant presence in high-pressure moments. Over the last 3 postseasons, he's averaged 12.2 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, not to mention 37% from beyond the arc in each of the past 2 years. He's been clutch, he's been consistent, and he's been one of the Knicks' most dependable playoff performers. And then there's Mitchell Robinson. You're talking about one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. Full stop. In 2023, he averaged 5 offensive boards per game. He followed that up with 3.8 in 2024 and 3.7 this past season. Even with injury concerns, he's been a force around the rim and a defensive anchor when healthy. He's averaged close to 8 rebounds, a block, and about 5 points per game over the last few playoff runs, and has often been a glue guy when things got tough. So yes, the Knicks would be giving up meaningful talent and a ton of draft capital. But when you're talking about acquiring a generational talent like Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's the price you pay. The Knicks would no longer be stuck trying to juggle the future payments of both Mikal and Mitchell Robinson. They'd be all in. And that's the key takeaway from SportsCenter's coverage today. New York has a window, a legitimate, wide-open window to land one of the greatest players of this generation. It won't be easy, it won't be cheap, but if they pull it off, the Knicks wouldn't just be good, they'd be great, maybe even unstoppable. That's it for now. We'll continue tracking this situation closely. For more updates on what's next for the Knicks, stay tuned.